Okay, we should be live. As usual, please let me know if you encounter any kind of video or audio problems. But I think we're good to go here. Let me just go over to the other page. Turn the volume down. No, okay, audio. All right, good. We're good to go. So, my name is Nick. This is Board Game Brawl. It is time for our weekly Q&A. You ask me questions, I give you answers in the best way I possibly can. Or if I just don't want to answer the question, I'll politely let you know that. Yes, I am alive. Thank you very much. And I got a few people watching. That's good. Yeah, I know. I posted this super late. So I'll just jump right into it, actually. So I first off had to apologize because obviously it's really weird because there were I did last week's Q&A, then you see 2 videos on my channel, and now we're doing the other Q&A. I had an incredibly busy week. I was not prepared for how busy I was going to be this week at work and other things I had going on at home, and I just couldn't get stuff done. I had a list of things to do, and every time I was home, I plugged away on some scripts for the channel, and I just couldn't get anything actually completed. And so last night I said, well, I'm home. I'm going to get some stuff done. And I stayed up until 7 a.m. I didn't sleep. In the past, so eventually I did sleep for like 2 hours. And I woke up about an hour ago, an hour and a half ago. And so I decided I'm just going to stay up, get some stuff done. And I did get a lot done. But by the time that it came time for me to actually edit the videos, I was literally falling asleep at the keyboard. I couldn't get anything done. Like I kept saying, "Wake up!" and typing, and it just wasn't working. So I'm not saying this to tell you like, "Woe is me," and how awful it all is. I'm just apologizing because I know I should have had more content up. So what you are definitely going to see. So after this, I don't know if I'm going to have time to edit them because I have my game group coming in a few hours, and I have to clean this place and get some games ready that we're going to play. We are going to play some interesting games. I've got a game called Allegiance I'm hoping to get to the table. I have a Back to the Future. The card game should be coming in, which I'm going to be totally honest with you here. I have really low expectations for it. Really low, but we'll see. And then what else am I planning to get to tonight? The rest of it's kind of up in the air. We'll see how it goes. Oh, well, I do have this Alien Nation, which I did a preview for, so I got the final printed copy of that, so we're going to check that out, and I'll do a full review for it this time. But what you're going to see in the immediate future, and when I say immediate, I mean possibly after my game group tonight, I'm going to stay up late and get them done, or tomorrow, you'll see reviews for Millennium Blades and Quadropolis, without a doubt. I've already got half the stuff filmed for it. All I gotta do is film the overviews, actually. And then you're going to see an unboxing. Along with that, you'll see an unboxing for the Tokaido Collector's Edition, which I might also try to get played tonight. I might play that a few times, though, because there's some expansion content I want to try. But yes, that stuff will be coming, and then you'll see other reviews, hopefully very soon. I do have to spend a large chunk of tomorrow working on some previews, because I've been letting the previews just kind of stack up, and some of those have to get done. But I will tell you that at least a couple of the previews, even though I know previews aren't everyone's cup of tea, totally get that. They are just commercials after all. But a couple of them are really interesting. So I hope that it will be some good content for you. But in any case, I do apologize. I don't like not having a lot of content going up. A lot of people tell me like, oh, stop worrying about it because there's a lot of channels that only have like 1 or no videos go up in a week. But I feel like I'm constantly compared to other board gaming channels like the Dice Tower that put out dozens of videos, which is not fair, but it is what it is. So people expect when a lot of fans are sort of scooting between all these different channels, they expect a certain amount of content, and obviously with my schedule it's very, very difficult. But I'm going to try. I still want to do the Kingdom Death videos. That'll be coming soon as well. Joel Eady from Drive Thru Review actually reviewed Kingdom Death. It's very interesting. You should check it out. Wasn't it? Well, I kind of was expecting it actually because I subscribe to Kingdom Death as a whole on Board Game Geek, so I just get notifications for everything related to the game page, and he posted photos of painted sets. I'm like, well, he must be getting ready to review it. This was a couple weeks ago, so it's pretty interesting though. Alright, so let's get to the actual questions. That is what you're all here for. And by the way, I did consider just canceling this for this week because, first off, today is tabletop day. So I anticipate having lower numbers than usual, which is fine. And also, just because I hadn't had any other content up, I'm like, doing another Q&A before I actually done a lot of content. But I actually think that this is one of the most important videos that I do because it's my chance to connect with the fans. To me, in my opinion, every single one of my subscribers is the most important thing about my channel, and for me, it's more about subscribers than views. So I felt this was very important. I didn't want to cancel it. So here we go. Let's see. Yes, Chris, our moderator, says there's an interesting update concerning Panda Manufacturing and Peterson Games on the Cthulhu Wars Kickstarter page. I know that Panda gets a lot of bad press on BGG, so this might help. Now, it's very interesting to me because so there's a friend of mine, Aaron, who is part of my gaming group. He comes here somewhat infrequently. He goes between a lot of the different groups down here. He knows Tom Vassell and all of that. And he's very active on BGG. He's a war gamer, so you'll see him in a lot of those circles. However, he was a big fan of Cthulhu Wars, and in fact, I never backed Cthulhu Wars. So when you see my Cthulhu Wars review and also our live play, well, actually, it was two different friends' copies that I used for the plays for the game. One of them was never on camera, but Aaron's copy of the game, we actually played at his place, and that's when we did our live play, and then it was... no, it was actually my other friend's copy of the game that I used to actually shoot the overview for the review. But in any case, he's a big fan of Sandy Peterson, Peterson Games, and Cthulhu Wars, and he occasionally will send me their backers-only updates. He'll forward them to me so that I can read them, and because there's always something going on with them, right? That's very interesting. So I didn't have a chance to read it, but I know what you're talking about. I know that I kind of glanced at some of the things as I sort of skimmed through on my phone. And apparently there's some sort of controversy going on with Panda and Cthulhu Wars, although the whole point of the email, the backer update, was for Sandy Peterson to squash it and say, we like them, they're our friends, blah, blah, blah. But I would like to know more about it. I don't know why Panda has such... do they have a bad reputation on BGG? This is something I'm unaware of. I don't necessarily delve into all the boards on BGG, but I thought Panda was very well respected. They're one of a few major board game manufacturers, and they're maybe it's because they take so long with their products, but they are overwhelmed, I'm sure. I've heard some interviews. I think Plaid Hat, actually, the Plaid Hat podcast, what's his name? Who's the owner? Kobe Dauk. Colby Dauk, excuse me. He interviewed, like, not the head of Panda, but maybe like their representative, and talked about just how slammed they are with stuff. They have no openings on their schedule for games. So I don't know. I don't even know if that's the reason people don't like them, that they're backed up. But we'll see. I'd like to know more about that. By the way, did you really post a live Q&A YouTube announcement sometime around 4 to 5 a.m. this morning? Yes, I did. And no, I don't know how to sleep. I've forgotten how to sleep. I'm slowly learning it again. Eventually, I will hope to relearn how to fall asleep. That would be amazing, really, for just a lot of aspects of my life. But yes, giving people more of a heads up would have been better. I actually like to post my Q&As on Thursday. That gives people time to see it and also ask some questions, which YouTube inevitably eats. Which is why I don't post it earlier, actually. But yeah, I know, that was my bad. Well, part of the reason I delayed was because I hadn't had content up yet, so I'm like, all right, Friday, I'll get these videos done, then I'll schedule the Q&A so it'll look like things are going on. But it didn't work out, obviously. All right. I wonder if International Tabletop Day has diverted a lot of people away today. Wait, it's a bank holiday weekend, so that most likely explains it. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, but it's fine. I knew that going in, and but this is a good time for me to do my Q&A, so I didn't want to cancel it. Wow, Brainy Smurf has been either away for a while or is new to the channel. So Nick, why aren't you on Board Game Breakfast anymore? Well, that is like the ultimate question. I actually hadn't seen anyone ask that in a while, but whole thing, basically. Tom Vassell, who's the head of the Dice Tower, and I decided we are to part ways for different ideological views on how to do videos and opinions that should be expressed on videos and so on and so forth. Yes, I still have a review of Millennium Blades coming very, very soon. That's like at the top of the docket, trust me. Millennium Blades almost broke me. That's a major reason why those videos didn't go up, is because my overview for Millennium Blades is 10 minutes long, or maybe like 9.5 minutes long. And that's with a script, by the way, meaning ahead of time I had to filter it down. But that's how complicated that game is. Has a board game ever made you emotional? Depends on what you mean by emotional. Do you mean like weepy, like sad? I don't think so. I've been sad when I've lost sometimes, but not like weepy. It's made me emotional as far as like angry and excited, mainly when I'm playing like party games or spy games, hidden trader games. But I don't know if that's what you mean necessarily. Any suggestions for dice placement games? Sure. I actually just talked about the Voyages of Marco Polo on my top 10 Euro games list, which was the one video that came out this week, and it's doing very well, so there's at least that. People seem to like it quite a bit, which I was scared about. I was like, this is a weird Euro game list because none of the classics are on here. Are people going to rake me over the coals for that? Everyone seemed to be very cool with it, actually. Quite the opposite. But yeah, I really like Voyages of Marco Polo. I'm not a fan of other dice placement games that much, so that one works for me. I will tell you, and someone brought this up, it seems like the last two top 10s, I hope this isn't the start of a trend, had notable omissions. So for my solo games list, and one of the reasons I was happy to do it with Rado again to sort of correct the record, at least with his group, I left off Friday, which was really embarrassing for me personally. No one else gave a crap, I think, except for one person who pointed it out. On this time, I don't know if it would have made it to the list, because I do have a little calculation, I do. But probably it would have made the list. That is Terra Mystica. I really enjoyed Terra Mystica a lot. This was a case of... So I actually do spend a lot of time commiserating, and not commiserating, but that implies more people, but when there's the committee of one for this. But I do spend a lot of time agonizing over the decision of where things should go, what should be on the list, what should be off the list. And I had a lot of options for this list. I was kind of surprised by that. But one thing I don't spend a ton of time on is the actual scouting for the games that are potentials for the list. Basically, I look at my shelves and decide, okay, what games are here that qualify, and because these are the games that I'm going to keep. Not really realizing that my apartment's kind of in disarray, so there are games that I want to keep that are in various random places scattered about the apartment. And Terra Mystica is one of those. Terra Mystica is a game that I like and that I want to keep, but it's somewhere. And that was out of sight, out of mind. So I'm a little embarrassed by that, but I don't think it would have been high on the list if it made it on at all. But it's still a good game. I like it. The correct euphemism is creative differences for why Nick left. Are you still planning on running a full Kingdom Death campaign on YouTube? Yes, that is still the plan. I'm just seeing when that's going to happen. That's kind of a vanity project, meaning I love Kingdom Death and I just want to do it, and it's kind of... it's not going to be easy to do. The editing is going to be really hard, but it's easy to shoot because I'm just going to be playing it anyways, which is something I enjoy doing. So it's kind of a vanity thing because how many people are actually going to watch it? I don't know. Kingdom Death fans might watch it. A lot of the fans who don't have Kingdom Death are a lot less likely to watch it unless they really want the game and are not going to be able to get it now that it's out of print and are trying to live vicariously, which is a possibility. Since we are doing questions not asked in a while, what's that game with the mouth behind you? Hold on a second. Let me see. I'm not really sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's Pathfinder. No, that's Super Dungeon Explorer, Forgotten Kings, Boo Booty Box. How long has it been since I've actually answered that question? Or skirted around it? Artfully dodged it. Nick should start a frequently asked questions geek list like they just started on the Dice Tower. I don't think I get enough. Well, okay, those two questions for sure I could do, but yeah, I don't know. What are your views on Charterstone, a competitive legacy village building game by Jamie Segmeyer? I've never played a Stonemaier game, so maybe I'll take a look at the Kickstarter when it's released. Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, I saw Eric Martin's blog post about it. Stonemaier Games is known for good quality games. I think I've liked, to varying degrees, every game they've put out. Yeah, I think I've played every game that they've put out so far, and I've enjoyed every one of them just to varying degrees. Some of them I liked, some of them I really loved, and have made it on my top 100 list. So right then and there, that's a notch in Charterstone's favor that's going to definitely make me try it for sure. And then it's got the legacy system, which is very interesting to me. Now, some people are skeptical, and I've seen comments like this, and I kind of had the thought too, because not that the game's not going to be any good, but about the legacy part, because Tuscany, the huge mega expansion for viticulture, was billed as having legacy aspects to it. Now, as it turns out, not really. Kinda, sorta. But, so, people were a little bit skeptical, but I think that this is a different beast. I think he kind of did that for a lark, but now for Charterhouse, he's going full bore. That's the impression that I got. And if that's the case, more power to him. Jamie Stegmaier, good dude, smart dude, just a great talented designer and publisher. I have always tell people when they want advice for Kickstarters, go and read Jamie Stegmaier's blogs. I mean, the guy knows what he's talking about. So when people say that companies like Game One Games are the kings of Kickstarter because they make a lot of money, I'm like, well, yes, but I would argue that Jamie Stegmaier might be the king of Kickstarter because he actually, knows what he's doing and knows what he's talking about. But that's just me. What are some of the game mechanics or innovations that are not used much and you think should be used more? Deck building. I mean, that doesn't get a lot of attention anymore. All right, that's a joke. Bad one. Probably too much at this point, even for me. No, let's see. Game mechanics. Well, dice placement, I think, is a great idea that I don't think is used a lot. It's notably used in some games, like Voyages of Marco Polo, like Alien Frontiers. But that could be used more. I think it could be used a little more interestingly, I think. Although it is just worker placement, I guess you could say it's a little just hash or rehash, retread. So there's that. What other things? Miniatures? Not a lot of miniatures games? No. I like deduction, and I like hidden movement and things like that. I'd like to see that used more in games. I'd like to see that used more in games you wouldn't traditionally want to see that in. Maybe not Euro games, but yeah, it would be super interesting to see those type of mechanisms, to see even, for all the hidden trader games, it almost seems like they're ubiquitous at this point, but they're really not. I mean, how many can you count? How many are good? That deserves more effort and attention put to it, I think. Because right now it feels like there's just a few games that take all the oxygen out of the room, and they're still like older games like Werewolf and the Resistance. I'd watched the campaign. Okay. Has Kingdom Death beat out Seasons for your favorite game? Well, you would have to check my last top 100 list to find out for sure. And then watch my next one, whatever that is. Have you seen the new expansion for Tesla versus Edison? Do you think it changed the game too much? It's so funny you mentioned that. I'll be doing a paid preview for that this week, so you will see for yourself. Worst ever experience story during gaming. Worst ever. I don't know. I've probably had some, as far as like the actual gameplay, I know I've had some dumb moments where I'm like, why did I do that? And it cost me the entire game. But as far as like something a little more meta than that, like interactions with people and some catastrophic thing happening, I haven't had anything that bad. I've had some people that I met through the group who I ended up being very close with, and then we had huge, disastrous fallings out. But that had less to do with the games. I've had a couple people in my group get really angry and throw temper tantrums, and that was super embarrassing and almost led to them being kicked out of the group. But I don't know. I can't think of anything traumatic like, you shit my pants during the game. I don't know. That's what I'm... that kind of story is what pops into my mind, I guess. I'm glad you brought this up, Jack. Are you planning on playing the Pathfinder app that has just come out? Or are you more likely to play it than the card game to reduce setup time? Well, I have to try it first. I can't even answer that question because maybe I just won't like it for whatever reason. Like the interface just doesn't work for me in particular. But I know that Mike Selinker and his team, and I think the studio that they worked with, being very verklempt today. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think they probably put out a quality product, but who knows if it works for me in particular. But one thing I think that was holding me back from actually going out of my way to play it was I think it's not available for Android quite yet. I think it's like a week away, or at the time it came out, it was another week away. In any case, I've only got Android devices, so it's going to have to be that. But I'm definitely going to try it, and I'll report back. I don't know that I would do a review because I feel stupid doing app reviews. Excuse me. These embarrassing people that leave their cell phone on like idiots, like monsters. All right. So yeah, that's that. Nick, I think people are starting to confuse Legacy with simple campaign play. I think I understand what you mean by that, and I've had that thought too. Here's the interesting thing. So, and someone brought this up. So, Legacy is not a copyrighted thing to Rob Daviau or to Hasbro, and hence the reason that Pandemic Legacy is an Hasbro. But anyone can take the Legacy name. I don't know if they can actually put it on the box, but anyone can say this is a Legacy game. And he actually mentions to Jamie Stegmaier, I saw this in comments that Jamie posted, that he considers Rob Daviau considers Legacy just to be like worker placement. Okay, but in my mind, Rob Daviau did set the standard. Okay, fair enough. And in my mind, a Legacy game isn't just a game that changes over time, which I think a lot of people think that it is. To me, a Legacy game is something that irrevocably changes over time. Which I keep using this phrase all the time, but a Legacy game makes you put skin in the game, meaning that you are going to permanently change it. You're going to destroy something. You are going to wreck something. You are going to make it so that you cannot possibly save your progress and go back. You're committed. And I think that's incredibly important to the Legacy experience. I don't know if Charterstone is going to be like that, so I'm just speculating on what your comment is in general. I hope that Charterstone is like that. But when I hear people, this was the whole debate about Pandemic Legacy, which was spurred on because of the fact that it unseated Twilight Struggle, which just inflamed people like, like how dare they, which made people even angrier about the Legacy components, or they looked for an outlet for their anger. And everyone's like, how could you play a disposable game? And I'm going to figure out a way to make this game shaveable. And rah, 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 rah. I'm like, you're missing the point entirely. That is the entire point. If you don't want to play a game like that, then this is not the game for you. So I think Legacy is a very specific thing, and I agree with you. I think that people are misinterpreting campaign-style play. Like, I wouldn't call Kingdom Death Monster a Legacy-style game, despite the fact that you can totally die and the story changes and you can't go back and fix things within the gameplay, but nothing in the game is permanently altered, like the components or the cards or anything like that, stickers, stuff like that. So it's just, to me, it's just a campaign style game, which is fine. So it's a very interesting point, and I do think that people are conflating the two. I think Gloomhaven people are calling that a Legacy game, but that's not permanent, right? If someone wants to correct me on that, go ahead. I thought that was the case. How did you and Bugbear meet, and who gave her that name? Well, so I was with my ex-girlfriend, Robin. Bugbear's 5 years old now. I was kind of shocked by that. She just had her 5th birthday earlier this month. And so we went to adopt her in 2011 in September. This was actually, I remember this specifically because it was right after we came back from a week-long trip to a commune in Virginia called Twin Oaks. And so when we got back, we made the decision on the trip that we're going to get a dog when we come back. So when we got back, we looked online. We found her on Craigslist. It was a family down in South Miami who had to give her up. It was a single mom with a 2-year-old and taking care of her elderly father and no other significant income in the household. She was having to go to school at night and work a full-time job, and they got a puppy for whatever reason, and that was Bugbear, and Bugbear was trapped in their kitchen with doggy gates just all day long because no one else could take care of her while she was gone. And eventually, which was a bad situation to be in, but at least to her credit, the mom eventually said, this is not right, I'm going to have to give her up, we should never have done this. We saw her, my ex at the time, my girlfriend at the time. We drove down there. As soon as we met her, Bugbear was a ball of energy. You could tell she'd been cooped up all day. She was running around, jumping on us. We were like, "There's no way we're leaving without this dog. This dog is ours now. It doesn't matter. And so we paid her and took the dog. So Bugbear wasn't strictly a rescue dog in the traditional sense, but we did rescue her from a family that didn't want her anymore. We had thought about the names, and I decided on Bugbear, and it was started off as a joke. I didn't think I really meant it seriously, but then we stayed committed to it. And even though Bugbear was a girl, and it sounds more like a boy dog's name, we're like, that's it. And her personality kind of matches that, right? She's kind of a rough, acerbic, abrasive, but at the same time loving, which is very interesting. Bugbear is the most loving dog to humans I've ever met, ever. But at the same time, if you touch her the wrong way, just like if you touch a cat the wrong way, she'll freak out. And she doesn't like other dogs. Nope. She loves her sister, though. And her sister Honeybee was a legit rescue dog. We actually went to a no-kill shelter down in Fort Lauderdale, and that was a sad one because, first off, just going to a shelter is sad, and seeing all the other dogs and cats and being like, I want to take you all home. There was like a full-grown female bulldog named Sugar, who while I was waiting for the foster parents of Honeybee to come back one day, I just sat there with Sugar, and Sugar put her head on my chest, and I'm like, oh, I wish we hadn't done that. So it was very sad. But even more sad was the fact that Honeybee was a pair. She was with her sister, who I remember distinctly because the one difference between the sister and her was that the sister had a white mark, just like Bugbear does. And it was sad. We couldn't do it. I mean, we already had Bugbear. We're in a tiny apartment. There's no way. And they assured us that she was going to another good home if we didn't take her. There was a backup family. I hope that that's the case. I don't know what happened. But that's that. And the rest is history. Yep, we love her. You know, my ex and I aren't together anymore, but I mean, we still take care of each other's dogs. I still have Honeybee some weekends, as you guys know. She just came over and walked Bugbear for me because I had to make a long trip down to Fort Lauderdale, Miami area yesterday after work. So there you go. Hey Nick, have you seen Space Race, the card game, on Kickstarter now? And if you have, what's your take on it? Well, since you asked, since I don't think there's a ton of questions today, actually I'm curious how many people are watching now. 46? Look, for today, I'll take it. What's our highest? I mean, our highest average is like 80 to 90, which is fine. But let's see. I fully anticipate people. I mean, there's a lot of people doing marathons today, so here we go. Let's take a look, because I don't think I've actually seen this. Who's it from? This is his first created game. It's got nice artwork, that's for sure. Sort of pulpy. I don't know. I wouldn't back it. But I'd play it if someone brought it out. Is this Rado? Yeah, Rado did a review. Edo. Did he just post the same video twice? No, two different things. Alright. Yeah, I don't know. Not really my thing, but the artwork I like. Let's see. What do I do? Oh, come on, YouTube. Don't do this to me. I don't know. Sorry, YouTube skipped me all the way down. Can I just add that I love the Metroid shirt? Yeah, a lot of people do. If you don't get the full width and breadth of it because of the way that I'm sitting, hold on a second. Because it is... Which, if you're of a certain generation, you'll probably recognize, otherwise not. I'm not even a fan of the original content that it's parodying, but I thought it was a very funny shirt and amusing, and I like Metroid a lot. Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion were amazing. Okay. Hey Nick, are you acquainted with Herb Levy from Gamers Alliance or know anything of them at all? Those names sound familiar, but I don't know anything about them. Sorry. That I can tell you off the top of my head. If you remind me, jog my memory, maybe I will. Okay, another frequently asked question to add. Where do you get your shirts? You guys should put these all together. If someone wants to do that, I'll consider it. I have to let some time pass because it looks very copy-ish if I do it now that the Dice Tower just did it. But even though it's a good idea. And yes, Angela answers T-Fury, T-Turtle less often. But T-Fury, Shirt Punch, Ripped Apparel, or Ripped.com, whatever it is, RIPT. And then, did I say Shirt Punch? QWERTY is also a pretty good one. They all get the same shirts eventually. Like, they'll be in rotation in different places. So they'll say exclusive, and then it will not be exclusive anymore. It seems like we are both a bit worried about Forbidden Stars not having any expansion announced yet. Do you think or believe that they will announce one? Maybe at Fantasy Flight Games keynote at Gen Con? I don't know. It's a tough one. You know, I'm starting to post a little more frequently over on my Board Game Geek Guild, and I posted over there. And someone mentioned that he was, I think he was a game store owner over in Sweden, I think, and he said, I talked to Christian Peterson because Christian Peterson wanted to know how his games were, who's the CEO of Fantasy Flight. He's still in charge of that division for Asmodee. And Christian Peterson wants to know how his games are selling in certain places, and he asked him, and he said, and the shop owner answered, frankly, Forbidden Stars is not selling well. And Christian Peterson apparently said, yeah, that's kind of what I'm hearing. So I think it might be financial problems for that game. I don't think that it's selling very well, which is, I want to say that I'm surprised, because I kind of have this impression that any Fantasy Flight game that has miniatures and gets reviewed well is going to do very well. But let's think about that for a moment. It is based off of Warhammer 40k, which is a very specific license, okay? In order to be into that theme and into that universe, you have to either just be passively interested in Warhammer, or be a Warhammer 40k enthusiast at some point in your life and want to play a board game based off of it. And just as far as the theme goes, but the thing is, there's not a lot of crossover between those two audiences. Not that many people who are diehard enthusiasts of the actual Warhammer 40k miniatures war game are going to cross over and play a board game, a 4X board game based off, not even a 4X board game, like a 2X board game. So there's that. Now, a lot of people, of course, in the board gaming sphere would just play it anyways, regardless of what the theme is, as long as it looks okay, because of the gameplay, right? But you could make an argument that it's a very good game, but it's not like the greatest game ever, and it has a very high price tag. I don't know what I paid probably like $70 for it, and that was discounted at like Cool Stuff or Board Game Bliss. So are people in the store? It's probably $100, probably still is. So it's a tough sell. Nick, I watched your review of Guardians Chronicles, which was not really good. You said you are going to do another review as you get the rest of the Kickstarter content. Do you still dislike this game? Well, to be fair, it's just kind of been sitting there. I do have all the, I have the majority of the Kickstarter content. There's still, I don't even know what's going on right now. They were going to do like, okay, there's other content we need to give to you guys. We're going to make a whole other base game. And then that's kind of on hold. So I don't even know that I have everything at this point. But I do have a lot of the other content. I just need to get around to doing a review. It's a disaster here. What I'm going to do, I know that I have to spend a lot of time working on videos tomorrow and hopefully getting some sleep tonight. What I'm planning to do, though, if I have any time whatsoever, is actually go to one of the local storage places here. There's actually two very close to me. Get some prices and see about getting a storage unit and getting all of these games out of here. It's really overwhelming. I've got games all over the walls, in piles in my room. It's crazy. I feel bad for Bugbear, who has to navigate them. I'm starting to look like a hoarder. I don't like that. But my point in mentioning this in regards to your comment is because once I get everything narrowed down, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to also focus like a laser on the games I need to get to the most. And I would put Guardians Chronicles and its expansion content amongst those. Okay, what other paid previews for the week? I don't know. Should I mention? I don't think it's not embargoed or anything. Yeah, I'll be doing a preview for the Darkest Night 2nd Edition. Darkest Night, the base game, the original, is a game that I enjoy. This is not going to be a review of the prototype version of the 2nd Edition that I have, but it will be a paid preview just to tell you what's new and different about it and what you might find interesting. So that should be super interesting to certain people, I think. A lot of people have been holding off on getting Darkest Night because it's from Victory Point Games and it has subpar components. It looks to me like they are going to solve some of those issues with this Kickstarter, so you can find out and make up your mind for yourself. Other preview games, you wouldn't know if I said them, so it's not really worth mentioning. Which sounds awful, but that's not what I mean. What game would you say has the best bang for the buck, and which game would you consider a cash grab? That's a very loaded phrase right there. Very controversial phrase. What's got the best bang for the buck? I mean, you can say any like small card game or any game within like the $20 or lower range that gets a ton of gameplay. And I can only speak for myself and my group, right? But I would say like Codenames is very replayable and it's very cheap. I would say Love Letter. I mean, I've played Love Letter dozens and dozens of times at this point, and I've seen other people play it dozens of more times that I just wasn't directly involved in. So I'd say I got my bang for my buck out of that game. Seasons has gotten a ton of play. I mean, the point just being games, it's very subjective because it's just going to be games that get played the most in my group. As far as what's a cash grab, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't like to use that phrase willy-nilly. You can certainly say that, well, I mean, how do you want to determine that? So, for instance, I was thinking about this the other day. Is it right that, Cool Mini or Not, I like Cool Mini or Not, but is it right that every single one of their expansions for Zombicide is another full base game? Is that strictly necessary? Is that a cash grab? I don't know. They give you a lot of content. Doesn't necessarily seem like a cash grab to its fans, but some people might be able to make that accusation. What about just any expansion content for games? What about if an expansion comes out within months of the base game, like just a few months? Is that a cash grab? Could you make the argument that, well, if it's this soon, clearly they had the content ready, why not just put it into the base game and charge a few bucks more? This seems like a cash grab to make you buy a whole other box of stuff. But sometimes reality has to set in a bit, and you're like, well, but they couldn't realistically do that, and they're running a business. I don't know. I'm hesitant to use the phrase cash grab for anything. Even me, who likes to be reactionary. Enjoyed the top 10 Eurogames list. Looking forward to the top 10 hybrids. Give us a hint of what isn't on the list. A hint. Well, I mean, come on. You can look at my top 100 and look at least one notable omission and say, why wouldn't that game be on the Eurogame list? So, have you tried Guilds of Cadwallon? As a matter of fact, Pilla, Guilds of Cadwallon was the very first game I ever backed on Kickstarter. No joke here. I was just getting into board games. This was early December of 2012. In fact, it might have even been the same night that I backed Guilds of Cadwallon, either before or after I made my Board Game Geek account for the first time. Okay? So, in that regard, Guilds of Cadwallon is a very memorable game for me. And I remember getting the game and playing it with my friends the first few times. Then I remember getting rid of it. Guilds of Cadwallon was a very interesting game. It had beautiful artwork, the same artwork and artists who... It was actually the same universe as... what was that name? City of Thieves, which I never actually ended up playing before I got rid of it. And I liked the components. It was what it was, though, and what I wasn't really necessarily prepared for. It was a very simple little abstract game, essentially, with some nice artwork pasted onto it. It was just a little puzzly game of like, okay, I put my guy here, and you put your guy here, and then this city flips to my district, and I get to take it, and I take this card, and then some of them are special abilities, and you just vie for points. It felt very mechanical, methodical, not very exciting. And it might have been my first... No, I'm sure I got games before that from Kickstarter that were more disappointing, like 12 Realms. But yeah, the first 3 games I ever backed on Kickstarter, in order: Guilds of Cadwallon, Kingdom Death Monster, 12 Realms. And back in the... I'm actually expounding on this because I just had this conversation with someone the other day online. Those 3 games, especially, and several other games afterwards, was when I was more excited about Kickstarter than I ever have been since. When I say that, I was on the comment section for these games every day. Especially 12 Realms, because 12 Realms wasn't that popular, and I felt like I was actually having an influence on what was happening with the game, and I was getting responses back from the creators, and I felt like this is what Kickstarter is for. And I think that was before Kickstarter really blew up. I mean, Kingdom Death was part of the reason it did blow up, actually. But it was so fun watching the stretch goals get knocked down. I had more time to focus on it. It was exciting. I was seeing the updates on my phone, and I'm like, yay! And I haven't really had that feeling since. So I have a lot of memories wrapped up with those 3 games. even though only one of the three actually turned out to be worthwhile. Would you like Carcassonne of what? If the meeples were replaced with green army men and you can assault other players' cities? No, because the gameplay is what I don't like about that game. I don't like meeples either, but I don't mind them that much that it kills the game for me. No, I just don't like that I put out a tile, I put a guy here, and farming, and put the meeple down, and I just, it's so... I don't know. I've never sat well with Carcassonne, or Carcassonne's never sat well with me. If you were in the UK, would you vote to stay in the European Union, or would you vote to get out? I don't have an opinion on this. I'm not trying to obfuscate. I'm not trying to sidestep. I just don't know enough. I'm not as educated on it as I want to be. But I will tell you that I find the story very interesting, and I would like to know more, perchance. Because I actually put this in the same category as a few months ago, there was the whole thing with the Apple iPhone, which was a phone from one of the terrorists responsible for the mass shooting in San Bernardino. And there was the whole kerfuffle. Maybe if you're out of the country, you're not too familiar with the story, but the FBI needed to break into the phone because it might have a lot of valuable information for other terrorist cells in the United States. That would be the extreme thing. But even if it just led to one or two other arrests of known associates of this guy, pretty important, right? However, Apple said, well, listen, I mean, they would have to go to Apple to get into the phone because if you try the password too many times, it locks out permanently and wipes the phone. And Apple said, look, in order to get into this phone, because of our security protocols, we'd have to write a whole new program just to get into the phone, which we could do. But if the worst happens at that point, even though it's unlikely, if that program got out into the wild, then anyone could do it. Our security on all of our phones would be incredibly compromised. And we have to worry about our customer safety. Not to mention the fact that they didn't want to set a precedent of, okay, anytime you want to breach privacy and break into someone's stuff, just come to us and we'll help you out. But the FBI was saying, listen, this is a terrorist phone, okay? This is not like us being paranoid. There could legitimately be something here. So I found that story fascinating, and I'll circle back to your comment in a moment. I found it fascinating because it wasn't cut and dry. So many news stories that I follow, so many political things that I follow, for me personally, are very cut and dry. Like, that's stupid, that's wrong, that's a great thing, these are good things, this is what I want to support. But, starkly black and white, when the truth is, everything is gray to a degree, but that's what they seem like. This was a story where I was like, I don't know who's in the right here. And eventually it ended up that the FBI found a way to break in without Apple's help. Now, I bring this up because of your comment, because with the EU and whether the UK should stay or not, I can see both ways from the little bit of information that I have. So it's very important that they stay in because the European Union needs to succeed. If it fails, it's a disaster. And there's a lot of other things going on with it. But on the other hand, is that the UK's responsibility? People are telling us over here, as a Bernie Sanders supporter, well, you got to vote for Hillary because, Trump would be a disaster. Yeah, but is that my responsibility that I have to vote that way? So is it the UK's responsibility just to keep this, somewhat failed nation state together and try again? Whereas some people would say, look, President Obama flew over to the UK to meet with advisors there and to address the people and say you should really stay in the EU. And other people, they're conservatives. Their version of our conservatives over there said, whoa. You're coming over to our country and telling us that we can't become a sovereign state again, despite the fact that you, the United States, would never give up your sovereignty. Okay? Never, ever. If Canada and Mexico and the leaders of those countries came to the United States and said, we want to make a super state like the European Union, where we're just all together, what do you think our leadership would say? They'd say, fantastic, let's do it. You know what the name of our new super state will be? the United States of America, congratulations, you're the 51st and 52nd state. Okay? So it is a little bit hypocritical for us to be telling them what to do. So I find it to be very, very interesting. It's a very multifaceted issue. I don't know enough about it to come down on one side or the other, much like with the Apple issue. But I love those kind of stories where it's not as clear cut. It's just so interesting to me. But I don't want to make light of it either because it's potentially lives hang in the balance, whether short term or long term. There's a lot of interesting things with immigration and what's going on over there with the migrant crisis. All mixed together. What is Brexit? Oh dear is nowhere safe from Brexit. You'd have to explain that term to me. Have you found any game stores that accept Bitcoin? My boss and I make fun of Bitcoin all the time. Bitcoin's the future. I can't wait till people start paying us in Bitcoins. Now, I know that there are people who are incredibly committed to the idea of Bitcoin and enthusiastic about it and will yell at me for deriding it. But I'm telling you, I don't see it happening anytime soon. If we ever, and hopefully we do, go to a fully fledged form of digital currency, like there's no longer any physical currency, and you may not even use debit cards anymore. We just have like a chip implanted and swipe it somewhere. And, you know, there's a global currency, whatever the case might be. It's not going to be Bitcoins. Okay? Right now, it's just something you can use to like go under the radar and buy drugs online. I know that's very simplistic. Yeah, people are freaking out about Madara using Panda manufacturing for the minis. I have to look. Okay, you guys have convinced me I need to research this more. I feel like perhaps I've got a blind spot here. You say you're late. I think I'm the late one on this. I'll look into that because I thought Panda had a good reputation, as much as any game manufacturer could. But I will look into that for sure. And Madara is a game that I did end up backing, so we'll see. I got the impression Gloomhaven uses stickers. Oh, you might be right. Themes I think would work well and sell well. Global warming, rodeo bull riding, starting a religion and converting others. Those are very diverse ones. Am I missing something? CO2 is a game from Strawberry Games who which is about global warming, and I've heard it's actually a very beautiful game and a very interesting game thematically. And of course, it's got people on the boards in the comment section for the game saying, "Oh, these liberals, libtards, and their progressive policies making their way into our board games. Climate change isn't real. These people are idiots." So in that regard, it is an interesting theme. It should probably be explained more. Rodeo bull riding, I mean, it sounds like a kid's game Hasbro would do for sure. I mean, it might be interesting. And then starting a religion and converting others. I think that's happened as part of a wider game, like cults and influencing people and things like that. It's just an interesting idea, though. To make a whole game based solely on that premise might be interesting. And I would love it if it was like a satire on Scientology. Like, without actually using that word, but using something close, like, I don't know, what would you call it? Something, you know, some sort of satire of Scientology, without incurring their full wrath and litigiousness. Oh, yes, you're right. Brexit is British exit. I had heard that before. John Oliver made a joke about that, too. Oh, crap. I scrolled down again too far. God, I hate that. I don't know, Forsaken. I would say make the religion theme that guy just talked about dark. That's my thought. If you make it silly, there's no message, right? Which games fatigue you the most? Games that are just exhausting to play? Shadows over Camelot gets exhausting. I don't know why I just thought of that, but I love it, but it is exhausting to play. It's long, and depending on how many people you play with and how many people are new, and it's there's just so much. You have to maintain the same type of intrigue as you would in the Resistance or Werewolf, but over a longer period of time. Hey Nick, any thoughts on the Dark Souls Kickstarter? I've been asked about this before. I was backing it, but it was tentative. I just want to get the updates, and then I was like, eh. The thing about it is, and so I decided not to back it anymore. I canceled my pledge. It looks very, components look great. Theme is very dark and brooding. People have actually said it looks like Kingdom Death, and you can probably make some fan scenarios for Kingdom Death based on the miniatures because they fit right into the dark appearance of Kingdom Death already. But that aside, Dark Souls itself looks very shallow as far as the gameplay goes. It doesn't look like it's really setting the world on fire. This is a new publisher, Steamforged Games. They might have only done like one other thing before, and it wasn't even like a game, right? Wasn't that playing cards or something like that? So I said, you know what? I don't need this one that badly. Sometimes I back a game just because I want to review it, but I do get some review copies. There's always an outside chance I'll be sent a copy anyway, so we'll see. Just to clarify, I'm saying, and some other people are saying, Tuscany wasn't actually a legacy. I don't think that Jamie Stegmaier has commented on that. Just got Millennium Blades from the Card House sale. Huzzah! Thoughts on it? Well, you will see my review. No need to spoil that here. But I had a lot of thoughts on it. And I saw your post about the Betrayal at House on the Hill expansion. Any more thoughts or information you can share about that? I don't have any other information than what's been publicly released. I will tell you that I bought my own copy of the game for the purposes of reviewing it and giving it another shot. I'm going to probably regret this. I was at Cool Stuff yesterday, picking up some orders, and I impulse bought some stuff. So we'll see. Have you watched the hour-long drive-through review of Kingdom Death Monster? I didn't watch the whole thing. I sort of skirted it. He seemed to like it while acknowledging that it was very expensive and some other faults of it. But, I mean, it's very interesting that he even reviewed it at all. And, you know, I like Joel a lot. I have a lot of respect for him. And a lot of people, including one notorious guy from Board Game Geek, who a user who I have a lot of respect for. I like his commentary. He's a smart dude. He hates my guts. Named Tumorous, who's one of the big fans on Board Game Geek. He has made very derisive comments saying, if only if only a real reviewer had reviewed this game instead of just me. And so now they all get their wish. People who don't like me or my reviews now have a legitimate reviewer reviewing Kingdom Death. So I'm happy about that, actually. If you don't want to listen to me, listen to Joel. I would. Well, I'm not going to go into explicit details about this, Angela, but why did you break up with your ex? Well, I mean, there's just a lot of reasons. It just didn't work out. You have two different worldviews, two different ways of how you want to live your life and how life should be. I'm not going to speak about her or what she is like. I will tell you, because it's just not fair to her. I will say that I am a person who I worry a lot. And the most important thing in my life is security and being consistent, having consistency, because, and while it might sound like, well, that's kind of a lame thing, like, of course everyone wants that, but you have to note that I've never had that in my life. I'm constantly moving around through no volition of my own. I'm constantly on the precipice of, like, either economic disaster. I was, lost both of my parents early. I got moved around to different families, moved around to different states, different financial situations, losing jobs, getting laid off from jobs, all these different things. So what was most important to me was just being consistent, being stable, and these were not things that were what she was looking for in her life at this point. At this point in her life, she's looking for more creative outlets to be more adventurous. I don't know. That's probably not a fair characterization, but just to say that that was a major reason, but that was sort of the bedrock problem that led to a lot of other problems, I think is fair enough to say. But yes, Robin is, I mean, we're friends. We maintain a relationship because of the dogs, and she has been on a couple of the videos. She was in one or two of the Kingdom Death live plays. She was on a Q&A afterwards, a very controversial one, where she and Ian basically shat all over the Dice Tower, and I'm sitting there like, But when we were still, our channels were still partnered, and so, it is what it is. Can we see the overwhelming pile of hordes of games? No, I'm a bit embarrassed by them, actually, at this point. Have you played Villages of Valeria or the Valeria series? Well, I have Valeria Card Kingdoms, which I need to desperately get to review. I want to review it. It's a deck-building game. I just haven't had the time. Hey, Nick, what are your thoughts on Massive Darkness? Do you know when Cool Media will release a Kickstarter for it? Well, it should be very soon. I need to know more about it. I just don't know enough. It seems very interesting. I know it's based off of the Zombicide system, but with some tweaks, some large tweaks. But that's all I know. Superhero shows update, please. Magic Puzzle Quest update, maybe not. What are you talking about? I have so much to say. Like the fact that they're giving away an exclusive Garruk Planeswalker if you can place in the top 10 on the quick battles, which means that only people who can dedicate 23 hours of their life a day to playing it are going to be able to get it, which is really infuriating. But all right, fine. I'll leave it at that. Superhero shows update. Arrow was not great this week. The Flash sucked this week. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s last 2 episodes have been amazing. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always gets good around this time as it's getting winding down in their season. In their first season, it was like right around the time of Captain America Captain America the Winter Soldier, and how Hydra awoke again and all that kind of stuff. And that intrigue in the show really changed the whole dynamic and made the show worth watching. Last year it was the whole thing with the Inhumans, and this year it was, I don't know, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. Well, I won't say anything in particular, but just Hive, the villain Hive that they have in the show now, and what happened in the last couple of weeks with another one of the main characters of the show was very, very interesting. So, yeah, Game of Thrones is back, and I thought it was good. It's very interesting because I'm an old school fan of Game of Thrones. I read all the books when they were coming out years and years and years ago. And so I felt very attached to the show at first, but now, since maybe it's one of those things where once something becomes really, really popular, the diehard fans kind of lose interest. I hate to say that, but it might be the case. But it's still good. Imperial Settlers or the 51st State Master Set. I haven't played the 51st State Master Set, so I can't tell you. Can't make that opinion. I played the original 51st State and wasn't impressed by it, but that was a long time ago. Well, Felbreg, it's not that I need more games, it's that I have to review more games. I don't keep most of the games that I review anymore because even if they're good, I just don't have space for them. So I do get rid of games all the time. In fact, if you back me on Patreon, you'll have access to my sell list where I get rid of games at a discount to fans first before I get rid of them in other ways. Which, by the way, if you're going to do that, you should do it soon because I cannot keep hoarding the games for sale. I'm going to have to start selling them in lots on eBay. Nick, have you won any BGG contests giveaways before? No. I used to join like every contest that even mildly interested me, and then I just stopped. I realized I was never going to win. Because the user base, or at least I lost my shot to win. Because now the user base of Board Game Geek is so absurdly large that there's just no way. Have you tried Dale of Merchants? It is a deck builder and has some good reviews. Well, I actually talked about that briefly on my Board Game Bliss update. I did not know that it was a deck builder. Damn. Should have actually got that with my last order. Have you tried Heroes of Normandy? If yes, what are your thoughts on it? I have not, but it seems very interesting. Nick, should I shave my beard completely or into a fancy goatee or mustache or something? I don't know you. Sometimes when people shave their entire beard, they look like they have a baby face. It's very disturbing. But, man, go for like some fancy hipster mustache. That'd be awesome. I know Onirum was on your solo games list. Have you played Castellian from the same universe? Yes, I should review that eventually. Spoiler alert, I didn't like it. Hi, bitch. Well, that's not nice. Or maybe it is. Could be like a term of endearment. Oh, but that funny comment made me lose my place. Message retracted. I'm missing all kinds of interesting things. Alright, so the guy who called me bitch has a fedora, which should tell you everything you need to know. I'm inclined to not block him. Must a game have good components, or can you like a game even if it is ugly? I've liked some ugly games before. I actually think like Orleans has awesome components with the deluxe edition from Tasty Minstrel. The original edition, which is when I first played it and first liked it, did not have good components. And in any version of the game, the artwork is hideous. If you want that as an example. I'm sure I've got other ugly games. Well, Sentinels of the Multiverse. I hate the art in Sentinels of the Multiverse. I hate the art in Ascension. Those were two of... Well, Ascension much less so, but Sentinels of the Multiverse is still one of my favorite games. Top 20 game for me. Have the Lord of the Rings games been done to death? Well, depends on who you ask. The fact of the matter is, while I haven't liked everyone that I've played, Lord of the Rings games have a very good track record amongst hardcore gamers. When you think of like War of the Ring, Battle of the Five Armies, the Lord of the Rings card game, which again, I didn't like, but I mean, that's the longest running LCG Fantasy Flight has. It's obviously selling very well. It has its audience. So if they keep making good Lord of the Rings games, I'd say no, they haven't been done to death, right? What is a good number for a gaming group? Well, it depends if you mean like for a single night or just in general. You want to have a deep bench of possible players so that if some people drop out or can't come a certain week, it's good to have a lot of potential options. But for a gaming group, like a particular night, how many people? I think the perfect number is like 6. With 6 people, 6 to 8 people. So if you have 6 to 8 people, you can do an even split and play 2 to 4 player games or 4 player games, right? And that's great. But with that number, you can still get together and do a party game, which would require between like 6 to 8 people to actually make it fun. Like Resistance with 5 people, not that great. And speaking of that, the worst number is 5, and both of my gaming groups this week ended up with 5 players. I was like, ah. Well, actually, one of them still ended up with 4 because a new person didn't show up, which we kind of anticipated, so it worked out. 5 is the kiss of death. Unless you specifically have games in mind that are made specifically for 5 players, like maybe even Dead of Winter I'd throw in that category, 5 players is the kiss of death. I hate it. Not enough people for a party game. Too many people for like the majority of the games that I have and have to review are 2 to 4 players. I hate it. I've actually gotten to the point where if we end up with 5 players, I'm like, we're doing 2 and 3. We'll split up. I'll be with one other person. I hate it. Is that a conspiracy theory? The FBI already had the thing and they knew they had a way to get into the phone. It's really interesting, though. Any thoughts on the upcoming Captain America Civil War movie? I'm incredibly excited for it. It's got good reviews. It still has like an 81 after a lot of reviews have come in, which for a superhero movie, fucking unheard of. Okay, are you kidding me? The original Avengers had like a 60 something, and I still love that movie. I mean, I'm so excited for it. I can't even. Yeah, I've heard CO2 is very heavy. Is there any universe in where you would vote for Donald Trump? No, not. Doesn't exist. As he is now? Okay, I'll vote for Donald Trump in a universe where he is like his doppelganger, like in Star Trek, which is his doppelganger being a good, non-sexist person, non-racist. That's when I would vote. That's the universe I would vote for Donald Trump. I would never vote for Donald Trump in a universe where he is exactly as he is now. Never going to happen. But Ted Cruz is still much worse, by the way. Which just means I'm so happy he's like flailing in desperation. So great. Good side effect. What are your thoughts on Descent coming out with their companion app? Really hoping you'll do a good job. I'm very excited about that. Because I would play more Descent if I could get people together for a campaign regularly, but I can't. With the companion app, I can play it solo, cooperatively, with the app taking control of the Overlord, and use all the expansion content for new adventures. I'm very excited for it. I might actually review that. Any comments on Tyrants of the Underdark? I don't know anything you don't know about it. I know what everyone knows, basically, so I don't have any insight into it. I'll say it looks great. I think it looks a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. I love playing as the Drow. Let's open up that debate. Is it Drow or Dro? You don't say Throw. You don't throw something. But you don't say I have eyebrows. I used to argue with some other nerd in my D&D group about that all the time. And then we were like, okay, we got the Dragon Compendium from Paizo, and it's got a glossary of terms and how to say them. So let's finally put this to rest. And what does it say underneath D-R-O-W? It gives both pronunciations. Either one. Yeah, 40K Dark Religion would be an interesting one. Although they don't convert people, they murder them. Any parts of the Dice Tower experience that you enjoyed and any parts that you miss? I was never that deeply involved. I mean, I just submitted segments, so it's not like I can really miss too much about the actual experience of sending in videos. But I would say the biggest downside is just that it's kind of like getting kicked out of a club when a lot of the people in the club liked you and respected you while you were in that club, and then once you're out, regardless of what the reason was, even though you haven't changed, a lot of people are like, well, he's persona non grata, and that's basically happened. So a lot of people were like, well, even though it was amicable to a degree of us splitting up, it was kind of like, well, you know, it's kind of like with a breakup, these are my friends and they're not your friend anymore, that type of thing. So there's a lot of people that I was associated with on the channel, a lot of publishers who are just like, meh, suddenly falling out of contact. So that's that. I mean, that's probably the saddest thing, and that has nothing to do with like anything in particular. It's just a byproduct of it, that it is what it is. But I'm not going to beg any people for their attention, that's for sure. Do you play Shadows with the Merlin expansion? Is it worth it? You know, I like the Merlin expansion for Shadows over Camelot. I don't think it's strictly worth it. I've had people I've played with those Merlin cards who hate the Merlin cards, because it is adding another layer of randomness that can really screw over the knights. But once you play the game enough, and I think by the time I introduced the Merlin expansion, we'd already played the game like 8 or 9 times, which isn't a lot, but we were like, all right, we're ready for something new now. And so maybe that's why I have a better opinion of it, because I'd already played the game a lot without it. But I'll tell you what, though, the Merlin expansion has a lot more cards for the black and white decks, which does make it totally worth it. You ever felt you got burnt with shipping when you buy a game? I try not to do that. Like, my orders I place at Board Game Bliss once a month are big enough that I get free shipping, and which is just the thing that they do. It's not just for me. And with cool stuff, I go and pick them up, or again, I order enough to get free shipping. So Kickstarter, of course, now in the past couple of years, projects have started incorporating shipping separately, but it hasn't hurt that bad. Dark Souls company actually did Guild Ball. Yes, I'm not too familiar with that, though. Any thoughts on the slew of Games Workshop board games that have been flooding the market? Are they any good, or simply a cash grab by Games Workshop? There's that word again! I do think it's a way for them to make new models and couch them in a game so that people will buy it separately, but still be able to use miniatures for Warhammer 40k. That might be a little cash grabby. I'm not going to lie about that. But they might also be good games. I don't know. I'm still slowly putting together the new Horus Heresy game, newish Horus Heresy game, and the Betrayal at Calth. Any info on the new Legendary sets besides Captain America? And do you remember MLB Showdown? I know they were trying to reboot it with MLB Clutch. They were scheduled to release it. I don't know anything about that. That was like a trading card game, right? I just know vaguely. I remember it. Any new info on the new Legendary sets besides Captain America? No, I don't have any personal info about it. I'm not even sure what the next Marvel Legendary set's going to be. I'll have to look that up. I'm sure they've announced it. I just know that there's going to be Legendary Encounters Firefly, Legendary Encounters Big Trouble in Little China. Who knows how good those are going to be. What is the oldest game that is still waiting for a review? Dude, I've got games from like the first few months that I haven't reviewed yet of me getting into board games. What? The Orleans art is great. You, sir, and I differ drastically on what would be considered great. I think those characters, which they based it off of old Renaissance era artwork, I think, but those people on the front of the box look like aliens. And they're not aliens, so they shouldn't. When will you be doing Kickstarter updates again? Haven't seen one since January. I don't think so. Sorry. Should DC sell their film rights to the Marvel people? I think they do better. Which mythological beast would you like to see a board game revolve around? I always liked Griffins, personally. I like to see that, but not like just some dumb racing game. You did a live play of Kingdom Death Monster? How did I miss that? Is it online? Yes, there's 2 of them, and they're disastrous because we were learning the game as we played. But we had a lot of fun doing them. Is it going to be possible? Bernie independent, Trump independent, Hillary and Cruz running for parties, 4-way fight? No. What's going to happen is going to be Trump versus Hillary, and Hillary will barely squeak out a win. But it's a nice thought, Angela. Bernie winning. If that was the case, Bernie might actually have a chance. But at that point, the country would be so fractured that he'd be presiding over a kingdom of dust. What are your views on Memoir 44? I've only played it once, and I was not impressed, but I realize I'm in the minority on that. Can we expect more videos with Rado? Maybe a live play? That's entirely up to him. I was at his invitation, and if he wants to do something in the future, I'll certainly consider it. But I would not put words into his mouth or thoughts into his head. Good job with Rado. Was that hard to get your video feed set up for it to work? No, I mean, he did it all on his end, so not hard for me. I did have an audio problem because what he really wanted to do was use my personal audio track, and for some reason I was having problems with Audacity. But other than that, wasn't really a problem. Also, to his credit, he, in his time, at his time of day in Malta, was like 2 to 3 a.m., and realized that video was like 2 hours long total, the 2 segments. So that was good on him for being a trooper with that. Whereas my time, it was like 8 p.m. So I was like, whatever. And I stay up late anyways. What game in your collection has the most plays? It's got to be Love Letter, unfortunately. But if you want to talk about a bigger game, Seasons probably. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I mean, I've caught up with questions. They're trickling in, but that's fine. So that's a good place to end it. We ended up with maybe around 60-ish people, which is good for today, International Tabletop Day, and I didn't have a lot of pre-announcement for this. And honestly, as long as there's a steady stream of questions, I don't care how many people are watching, because regardless of, I do care. But regardless of that, I got to interact with some of my hardcore fans, which is fantastic. That's the reason why I do this. I love all of you guys. I hope that if you are whether you're doing something today or not for International Tabletop Day, have a great day anyways. Take the day off. Don't play games. Be the anti, I don't know why. Just because I want to be divisive, be the anti-Tabletop Day and do nothing gaming related today. Okay, don't do that. Do something. But have fun regardless of what you do, and have a great weekend. Have a great week coming up. I will see you next week. There will be more content coming. I promise I'm going to do my best to do more stuff this coming week. Whether I kill myself or not, that's the kind of dedication I have. Okay, probably not that far. In any case, have a great weekend, folks. Love y'all.